This is Archery Vlog number 8. I'm wondering if I should just continue to call them Archery Vlog number blah, because depending on how many thoughts come to mind as my path to archery conquering continues, it may just get to the point where I'm saying Archery Vlog number 47, which is a little silly, but I guess if I'm doing a series, it makes sense that I should at least entitle the series appropriately. Tonight, when I got home from work, I was a little, I didn't want to shoot arrows. Not because I was bored of it. It's just, you know, getting the bow out and then putting on the quiver, because I got to take off my belt, put the quiver on, and then put the arrows and go outside, you know, and it was just a whole nine. But I decided what I wanted to do was wax my bowstring. I got some bowstring wax here. Tex-Tite bowstring wax. I was going to wax up my bowstring and just make sure that it's in good condition, you know, maintain the equipment and like that and whatnot. I also wax the outside of the limbs because they are exposed in a sense. I want to make sure that they're sealed so that if it gets a little rainy, it doesn't affect the arms themselves. And I'm not even using the correct archery terms, but I will someday. Anyway, the point is I didn't want to do it. I just didn't feel like it. You know, I was thinking about it. I'd rather, when I was at work, the whole time I was thinking I'd rather be out on the range right now. I'd rather be out on the range right now. But when I got home, crazy cats, when I got home, I was just like, I'm just going to sit down in front of my computer and veg and get the day over with. What I mean by saying getting the day over with is sort of, you know, decompress from the day at work. But as I got the bow down to become the string, and I had to get the quiver, or excuse me, yeah, I had to get the quiver because that's where the bow stringer is. And then I had to put the string on the bow so that I could, you know, wax the string efficiently. By that time, I had the quiver down, you know, and I was going to string the bow, so I said, fuck it, let me go outside and just shoot a couple arrows. So I went out there and I shot off my normal 100. But here's what I came across as I was doing it. Now, I told you the last time that when I started doing this, I was using a different anchor point, so that when I'm pulling back, I'm doing something that's like this, basically. I'm pulling back, and my thumb is touching right about here, or right about here, I think. So I'm pulling back, I'm touching, yeah, right about here. And you can see that my fingers are over my eye. So that's what I was talking about when I said I was pulling. So I'm looking down towards the target, and the arrow is sort of in my vision. So yeah, I'm pulling like this. And, you know, and I'm doing that a couple times, then I can feel that my index finger is starting to get sore. When you pull the string, you're supposed to rest it in the first knuckle arch of your fingers is where the string should sit. And I've done it enough times that I was making this part of my finger started to get sore. So whenever I would knock the arrow and draw the string, it would start hurting. Something that one of the older archers had said to me when I was there a couple weeks ago is that the middle finger should be the one that's doing the majority of the pulling on the string. I'm assuming the other two, you know, you have the other two for support on the middle finger, but I'm also discovering that that's also to support the knock of the arrow, so that when you're pulling back to fire, you know, it's steady on the rest. So I thought I started doing that. I started to try to reposition my hand so that I would pull back more with the middle finger, and it changed the way it felt as far as how I was drawing. Also, I noticed that when I was setting myself up, I was starting to raise my elbow. I was pulling it back, and good form, your shoulder and your elbow are back and straight, you know, and they're straight to the arrow. So it's like a you know, an even flat line. And I was just doing that naturally. My elbow was just coming up naturally. The point that I wanted to make and share with you guys, the point that I'm making that I wanted to share with you guys was, if you've ever talked to an archer or somebody who's teaching you archery, they always tell you the proper stance, they tell you the proper way to hold the bow, they tell you the proper way to draw, and they mention that you're supposed to have a good, flat, even, raised elbow. So it's like parallel with your shoulder or even with your shoulder, is what they tell you to do. Now, if you aren't familiar with archery or you're just starting out, it's going to be really uncomfortable for you to do this because it's not a natural position. You know, when you're pulling back, you might be down here, or you know, you might be up here, whatever it is that you're going to do. But you want to keep it even and straight. I started doing it naturally, and that's the point that I wanted to get to. Is that I think that when you start to get things start to fall together, when you start doing it correctly, when you start putting the pieces together, you will start producing those movements that you're being told you're supposed to do. You know, and I noticed it. I noticed as I was drawing that my elbow was up. it was noticeable. Not like, oh my God, that hurts, but just I would notice that my arm was up. Before I would never notice it. I was probably down here or something. So, and that's I think helping. I can't say that for certain, but the idea of that this was something that somebody had told me, that I've read in books, that I've seen in videos, and they all say the same thing, but it wasn't something that I could do, that came to me when I was starting to do something correctly. So that's what I'm communicating to you, is that when they tell you these things, just keep them in mind. You know, you can try to get yourself used to doing it, and that may work for you, but I think over the course of your expression with the bow, and when you start learning more about it, your body will start to put you into the position you're supposed to be in. And you will start to produce the stance and the arm position and the pull on the string and yada, yada, yada that you're supposed to. So give yourself the chance to just be able to experiment with your bow and experiment with the way that you're firing the bow and just see how your body reacts, because it's going to be a very natural thing. And pretty soon you'll be doing it without even thinking about it, which is what happened today for me. So that's pretty much all. Just wanted to say that, you know, as you advance, you're gonna start doing some things that you were instructed to do naturally, and you're gonna start having to help yourself do some things that you were instructed to do that aren't natural. You just gotta be willing to give yourself the the time to do both. So that's all. That's all I wanted to say. I hope you're all doing well. That is what I learned today while I was out back at my house shooting at a bale of hay. And this weekend, if I have enough gas, I'm going to go up to the range and test out what I've learned on actual targets rather than just a big old bale of hay. I'll actually have a bullseye that I can aim at. Alright, so until the next one, which may be any day now, I'll talk to y'all later.